Okay, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Sandy Neumann from Springfield Valley Hypnosis Center, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to Tim Shurr. On the screen there, you can see him. Tim, say hi.
Hello.
Tim has advanced degrees in psychology and is a multi-award-winning hypnotist. He facilitated over 15,000 individual hypnosis sessions over the last 30 years. He doesn't look that old, does he? And discovered how quickly you can eliminate insecurity, anxiety, and self-sabotage. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so as an award-winning leadership speaker, Tim has helped corporate clients earn millions in annual revenues using the One Belief Away method from his new book, One Belief Away. I hope you can all see that, okay? Tim's approach is so effective, he has been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, and the TEDx stage over 50 times. I wouldn't want to do one, so congratulations, Tim. He's also the founder of the Global Legend Summit and the host of the popular How to Be Mesmerizing podcast. So the reason I invited Tim here today, not only to talk about his book, which is so wonderful because it's all the tools in this book. It's like a toolbox. Tim was also my coach when I started this practice, 2014. And I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for Tim. So Tim, thank you for that.
Thank you.
For a lot of my NLP coaching as well. So I read your book. I gave it to my daughter. And she gave it to her roommate to read because this age group, Tim, I'm finding that a lot of my clients come in, their parents come in or the kids come in with anxieties and they just don't know how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I know anxiety is just a feeling of fear, right?
Mhm.
What you always said, and I keep repeating, fear is false evidence appearing real. So how do we change that? In this book, you describe that. And I think this is something that's so important to our youth to understand what it is and not to be frightened from it and how to move beyond it, how to have it work for you, all those things that go in their mind. And some people think, well, fear's a motivator. Well, it can be, but sometimes it's not, right? It keeps
Mhm.
us from being who we really wish to be. And in this age, I'm finding that a lot of the college kids and high school kids feel so much pressure to be or to know what they want to be now. And it's like, well, I don't even know. Sometimes I change my mind and I'm old. So, but they have this pressure to get the best grades, to pick the right major, to pick the right school. And it's overwhelming and causing, I'm finding a lot of illness in kids, which is so sad.
Yeah.
So I really want to get this information out to parents and also students and teenagers and even kids after college to know that you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to just go to a therapist and get on an antidepressant or anti-anxiety pill. You can use your own brain. And that's what you're so good at teaching, Tim. So I want you to just kind of, I love the way you open the book talking about yourself and how you overcame your anxieties. And so, can you just tell us a little bit about that so they have some understanding where you're coming from?
Yes, thank you, Sandy. First, it's an honor to be with you again on your program. So, congratulations on this. So, yeah, I think that authors write the books that they themselves need. And so, I wrote a book on how to overcome anxiety and insecurity because that's where I started. I love to say that I had a lofty goal of ridding the world of emotional, needless emotional suffering, which is my mission statement now. But back then, I was just insecure and anxious and sabotaging myself and holding myself back, thinking that it was happening to me, and
Mm,
not realizing that the problems I was complaining about were actually problems I was creating. And human beings have a very difficult challenge of trying to avoid pain by engaging in behaviors that create more pain. And so the more I tried to figure out how to get rid of my anxiety, the more anxiety I had.
yeah,
And you're exactly right. The idea that we just go to therapy and talk about our problems and try to have a more positive attitude and maybe take an antidepressant, that's the standard approach, but it's not working.
mm,
You can talk about your problems all day long and never feel any better or sometimes feel worse. It's kind of like cutting the top off of a weed. if you don't get to the root, the weed just keeps growing back.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, and pills aren't going to change emotional beliefs or habits, right? Pills aren't going to change what we say to ourselves or what we focus on. So after 32 years of studying psychology and us humans, I have found that it's not what happens, it's not the experiences that we have, it's what we tell ourselves about those experiences. It's what we think it means. We have the ability to interpret any situation in a way that strengthens or weakens us. And the challenge is that most people don't know they have this power inside of them. So instead of choosing how to respond, here's a situation, it's neutral. It might look really scary. I can't leave the house without a mask, or I'm not sure how I'm going to pay my bills, right? But again, it's not what shows up, it's how you show up. It's how you describe the situation to yourself. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose everything and my life's over and I just can't get out of bed. Or where's the creative opportunity here? You know, and the pandemic struck, I lost all my keynotes. I worked really hard to get keynotes lined up every single month. And in a couple of days, they disappeared, and they're still not really doing many live keynotes. And so it completely wiped out what I had worked for years to build up. But again, where's the creative opportunity? I finished that book, right? I launched a Legend Summit and was able to redefine, my message and get out there in a bigger way. So remember, it's not what shows up, it's how you show up and how you describe situations to yourself.
Yeah. My father brought me up at a young age, always telling me, Sandy, it's not what happens to you, it's how you perceive what happens. So
Yes.
whenever I used to get in a tough situation, I remember that, how am I going to perceive this?
Yeah.
And I would have an opportunity way back when I was in sales. If I lost a big sale or something horrific happened, I'd, ooh. So I've
Yeah.
been trained because my father was a hypnotist and a coach as well. So it kind of trickles down.
Yeah. It's
Anyway,
amazing.
so thanks for that. And in the book, chapter 1, you say self-belief is the only element that separates those who win from those who don't. I thought that was really interesting. Can you explain that a little more, what you meant by that?
Yeah, if you believe in yourself, and that means if you are telling yourself that I love myself and I accept myself no matter what happens, whether I get the sale or I lose the sale, I still love me. I might need to adjust what I'm telling myself or adjust my approach, right? But I need to keep loving and accepting myself, encouraging myself, supporting myself, being my own best friend instead of being mean to myself in my head.
Yeah.
That's what self-belief is. Belief is believing in you. And if you believe in you, then you can say, then you know what? I'm good enough to be able to achieve this goal. So I'm going to take another step. And failure is just feedback. So if something doesn't work out, I can learn from it and take another step. And when you believe in yourself, you'll be more persistent and you'll be more self-disciplined and you'll be more resilient. And really the only thing that separates people from that win big from those that don't is that they kept going. And the only way they were able to keep going, if you get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8 times, right? How do you keep on going? You got to believe in yourself, and then you'll believe in your dreams and you'll believe that it's possible to attain your dreams. And you'll also recognize that the pursuit of your dreams is how you win. Because when you're pursuing something that you believe is a passion or a calling for you, then the journey is what gives you life satisfaction. You'll achieve goals for sure. But every time you achieve a goal, you'll be like, all right, but what's the next goal? I've been on TV, I've written books, and I've did a TED Talk. That's all exciting, right? But my mind is like, yeah, but what's the next goal? So it's not about attaining the goal. It's about the journey and who you have to become through this journey. So instead of trying to figure out how to get what you want, keep enjoying the journey that you're on in the pursuit of it. And that's what'll help you to become most fulfilled.
Yeah. And it's also very important. I learned that in sales. A lot of people, a lot of my peers would be afraid of sales because they fear rejection. What if they don't like me? What if I lose that sale? And like you said, you have to just keep going out there.
Yeah. What if they don't like you? So what? And
It's how you believe in yourself. It absolutely is. And that energy
yeah,
comes through. That energy,
yeah,
people feel that. If you feel like a loser or if you feel like you're not going to get the sale, before you even go in the door, guess what? You're not going to get it, you know?
But you said something really important. If you feel like a loser, well, where do your feelings come from, Sandy? Where do your feelings come from?
From your thoughts.
That's right. They come from what you're saying to yourself. The problem is that most of us are not aware that we're even saying these things to ourselves. We're not very mindful, right? We're not paying attention to what we're telling ourselves all the time. And so it's like you're on autopilot. So people say, well, that's just how I feel. Well, you're feeling that way because of what you're telling yourself all day long in your mind. And if you want to change how you feel, you've got to change what you're saying to yourself. And really, the only way that you'll really change what you're saying to yourself is if you get to the source of where those thoughts and fears are coming from, which are your beliefs, what you believe about yourself, the opinions that we believe are facts. So common beliefs are, I can accomplish something or I can't accomplish something. I'm a lucky person and things work out for me. I'm an unlucky person and nothing works out for me. If I keep going, eventually I'll win. If I keep going, I'm just going to be more disappointed, so I'm not even going to bother. These are beliefs. And until you upgrade those beliefs, you can't really upgrade your self-talk and what you're thinking all day long.
Yeah, very true. And, I find that with the kids that I counsel and help, they're so influenced by social media, their peers, what their parents say or don't say, that they really are not having a true sense of self because they're in that comparison trap that, oh, Joe has a better life than I do. Look at, she's going here, there, and everywhere. And I find that it's really self-limiting. They think that they're never going to be good enough compared to all these friends and people and the high expectations that they have. And I think it's really damaging the kids, and they're on there all the time, and they're getting, manipulated in their brain. And the parents don't even see it because they're behind that phone all the time.
Or they're feeling it too, and they don't know how to help their kids because they're feeling the same kinds of insecurities and pressures. I mean, it's so common for people to feel less than or not feel good enough, or to tell themselves, I don't know what to do, which if they would think about it a little bit, they would come up with ideas. But we shoot ourselves down because we don't trust ourselves, because the world is infected by this fear that somehow in some way, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. In fact, that's where all the other fears, the fear of rejection, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of humiliation, the fear of success, right? All of the other fears come from that one core that I'm not enough. And so when you look at social media or when you look at other people, it will feed on that insecurity if that's what you're thinking about. But what's interesting is that I've coached very, very successful people that have the big house and the fancy car, and, they seem like they have the perfect family. And then when you actually talk to them, they are struggling with the same issues as everybody else. No matter how much money you have, someone else has more money. No matter what toys you have, someone has better toys, right? No matter how in shape you are or what kind of family you have, someone else might seem like they've got it better. And that comparison trap causes a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
So, the goal is to compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to other people, but to who you were yesterday. Am I getting better than I was yesterday? And if I don't feel that way, what can I do so that tomorrow I feel even better than today?
Right. Now, Tim, in your book, you talk about the self-limiting beliefs and upgrading your beliefs. Can you talk a little bit, how do people upgrade their beliefs?
So there's two ways. The first way is to figure out where that belief was originally absorbed into you. When we're little kids, we have lots of experiences and we're interpreting those experiences as a little kid, right? So I'm 50 years old. If someone said, when I was 5 years old or 8 years old, oh my gosh, you're so dumb, you're never going to learn anything. When I was 5 or 8, I would have said, oh my gosh, I must be really dumb. I'm not going to learn anything. But if someone said that to me now at age 50, I'd be like, I learn all kinds of stuff. That's your issue, not mine. So I would approach it very differently from an adult point of view. But that's not where our beliefs are built. Our beliefs are often built when we're little kids. And so because we're interpreting all these ideas from the other insecure adults around us and from the other insecure kids around us, that those messages get into our mind. And what we have to do is imagine going back through using, I like using, like you, the hypnosis tools that we have, or the neurolinguistic tools that we have, to be able to go back and shift those experiences and the interpretations of those experiences at the point where they were created. Right? Go right back to the initial sensitizing event, as we would say, and start to change the experience right then and there. Once you've done that, then the second part of it is changing what you're telling yourself on a daily basis, so that you switch from being your own inner critic to someone who's more loving and supportive. It's the best friend approach. You know, if your best friend was struggling, what would you say to encourage them? And then, oh, we have all kinds of things that we would say to them. Just turn that inward and say it to yourself. The only reason that people struggle with that is, one, they haven't practiced, or two, because they haven't changed the beliefs. So we got to start with the beliefs, and all those strategies are in that One Belief Away book. My best strategies are in there.
That's what I love about it. I think it's great, because it's one thing to tell somebody that, but when they sit down and read the book and do the exercises, it really causes them to think.
Yeah.
Where did this belief come from, and how can I change it? And just by changing your words and your self-talk.
Yeah.
And it feels a little uncomfortable, at first. And,
Mm-hmm.
I find that teenagers, or even young adults, or even older adults, don't like to get out of our comfort zone. So if it's going to make us feel a little uncomfortable, we avoid it. And by getting out of that comfort zone and really looking inward, that's where you can make the change. It's the only way you can make the change, once you become aware of what it is you're doing. And if you're not aware of it, then it just repeats itself.
Yeah.
So the exercises in that book were great. I love them.
Well, thank you. I think that I always ask people, if you want to read a book like that, you're already uncomfortable.
That's right. That's right.
Right? You're already in discomfort. You're already struggling. You're already feeling unhappy, or having anxiety, or being stressed. So the idea that the fear is that it could somehow get worse, but that's never happened. And all those thousands of sessions over all those decades, that's never happened. People have only improved and felt more secure. So I tell people, they're like, what should I work on? And I'm like, well, where are you resisting? Because your biggest breakthroughs are hidden in the places you don't want to go. So if you get nervous about that, then you need to do it. You need to push yourself and do it, because that's where your biggest breakthroughs are going to happen.
Yeah, I have a funny story. You just reminded me of, how many years ago was it? Well, it was before I did the hypnosis business. So I was just coming out of life insurance business, which I realized really wasn't my thing. And I remember saying, I just need a break. And I ended up breaking my leg. And for 8 weeks, I was on the couch in a cast, couldn't move, because I didn't want the operation for pins and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I could finally get out and walk with a crutch, I remember taking my daughter Maya with me, and she was only maybe about 10. And we went to Barnes and Noble, and we're in the self-help thing. And I bought a stack of self-help books about this big. And I remember her saying, Mommy, why are you buying all these self-help books? What's wrong with you? I said, I don't know, but I'm hoping they're going to find the answer in one of these books.
That's brilliant.
And so, I sat and I read those for 8 weeks, and there were so many gems of wisdom. They all went into my subconscious, which is great, because it was feeding me for my next adventure. So I could help other people, but they really do work. But what is great about yours, the difference in this book and Get Out of Your Way, there's actual lessons, actual tools, exercises to do, which I didn't really find in other books, which are really helpful, because you can read and read, but how does that relate to me? So in your books, they really bring you back to relating to you. So I think that's awesome. And that's why I really want to promote this to parents, to get out there and get this book or these books for their kids, because you can't possibly teach them what they'll learn in this book, unless you've gone through the book yourself.
Unless you can take the next 30 years,
Yeah.
to do all the stuff that I've done, so to be able to gain that kind of wisdom and those tools and strategies that go with it. Or you can just collapse timeframes and and get the book and start sharing it with them. And it's really powerful for teens and young adults in college, because when they have these tools now, they won't be struggling with the issues that they might struggle with 10 years from now, when they're in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s. Most of my clients were in their 50s when they started to really work on themselves and make improvements. Imagine if you had these tools when you were 20 years old. The course of your life would be very different. And so it's really valuable. There's nothing more important than working on yourself and developing yourself. Jim Rohn, I heard him say it this morning. I was exercising and listening to a motivational program, because like you said, Sandy, it gets into your mind and it helps you. Mm-hmm. And he said that if you work on your career, then you'll make a living and that'll be great. He says, but if you work on yourself, he says, you'll make a fortune and it will be amazing. Your life will be amazing. So work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. And that is what will give you the keys to unlock your freedom, your happiness, and your peace of mind.
Yeah, and peace of mind. And that's what everybody wants, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're all searching for. I often ask, what is it you really want out of life? And most often it's just, I want to be safe in my own space, and I want peace of mind,
Yeah.
So how do we get peace of mind?
Well, you work on yourself. Yeah, it's an inside job. Peace of mind and happiness is an inside job. People think that, well, if I work hard and I save money and I have all these material items, I'll feel safe. If I marry the right person, I'll feel safe. If I have the right kind of kids. But those are outside of you. Safety and security doesn't come from outside of you. It comes from inside of you. Right. And so, you create peace of mind by developing yourself and learning how to feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. And it's funny, the uncomfortableness that often comes up is just the fear. It's like, what's over the line? I have a daughter who used to, well, maybe she still is. She wouldn't like me telling this, but she's a procrastinator. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I said, honey, it's just like opening the door and walking through it, but you put up these cement walls. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't be afraid? Just go through the door. Mm-hmm. But so many people struggle with procrastination and how to, I don't know if they actually see something, feel it or hear it, but it just stops them dead. And then they just waste time, and it builds more anxiety. It builds more pressure. Yeah. It's hard to watch.
It is. Well, procrastination occurs when people associate some kind of pain or discomfort to taking action. So if I exercise on,
or they just don't want to do it. They just don't like to do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, but they might not want to do the work, but they want the result.
Right.
Right. And so there's two types of attitudes. I'll do it when I feel like it. And then, I'm gonna do it so that I feel like it. Right. One is waiting for the feelings to come so that you can take action. And the other one is winning because they're doing the action, because once you do the action, then you get the feelings. Yeah. Right. So if I waited to exercise to when I felt like it and I was motivated, I would never do it. But I go and I get my pull-ups in, or I'll do my push-ups. Right. It's funny. I'm going to be 51 years old in April, and I'm downstairs doing pull-ups most mornings, right? Like a 20-year-old, but it's because, and they're hard every morning, right? Every time I do them, they're not getting easier.
But I keep, I'm 60, it's even harder.
Yeah, that's right. So, but I keep doing it because then I know that I will want to keep doing it. Right. And that's really the difference between people that are succeeding from those that aren't. If you're procrastinating, you're focusing on the pain. If you're motivated, you're focusing on the reward at the other side of that discomfort. Right. So if I'm trying to do the dishes and I think about sitting there washing dishes, I'm not going to want to do it. But if I imagine a clean kitchen and how good it feels that everything is clean and put away and organized, I want that feeling. So then I go wash a spoon and then a plate and then a glass. And then I'm like, well, heck, I'm into it. I might as well just finish, right? So you don't focus on the painful part. You've jumped to the end and you focus on the part that's going to be enjoyable. So when people are like, okay, well, this sounds all great that we should have a positive attitude and we should change our beliefs and get the book, but are there some tools or strategies that we could share that would start to help us feel better right now? And if you'd like, Sandy, I can share a couple of those strategies.
I would love that.
Yeah. So here's a 5-step strategy that will start to help you feel more like you can shift what you're focusing on. So number 1 is start with a feeling. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling upset, if you're feeling nervous, or if you're procrastinating, just notice how you're feeling. Step 2, ask yourself, what would I have to believe to feel this way? What would I have to be telling myself? What would I be focusing on in order to feel this way? Because we're trying to identify the belief that's in there. Well, that it's going to be hard, or that I'm going to feel uncomfortable, or that I'm going to get rejected. Okay. Well, what would happen if it was hard, or if it was, difficult, or you got rejected? What's the fear then? What would you have to believe about yourself then? And if you keep asking that question, well, I guess I'd have to believe that, I'm not good enough to be able to do it. Or if someone rejects me, that I have to reject myself. Why? Who said that? That's not a law, right? That's a silly idea. If someone rejects you, that means you're giving your power to them. Do you get to decide how they feel? Right. No, they get to decide how they feel. Well, why are you giving them your power then? You get to decide at the end of the day how you feel. If someone rejects you, they're not rejecting you. They're just, something inside of them is going a different direction for whatever reason. You don't even know what that reason is. We just make reasons up in our mind based on our insecurities. So if we ask ourselves, what would I have to believe in order to feel this way? It starts to help you understand that, wow, maybe I'm being a lot harder on myself than I thought. Maybe I'm afraid that if I do this, it's not going to work out anyway. And I'm going to put all this energy into it and then it's not going to happen anyway. Well, is that what you want to believe? Because that's kind of a very pessimistic attitude. Well, it hasn't worked out before. So what? Then you keep going and you learn and you keep trying, and then you try, you get feedback why it didn't work out before and what you maybe need to adjust next time so that you're able to grow and approach it from a higher point of view, from a more educated or more wise point of view. And so we tend to shoot ourselves down just because we're afraid it might not work out. Instead of saying, what if it doesn't? What if you said, what if it does? Right? You just change the question you're asking yourself and it changes what you focus on. And that's step 3. What would you rather believe? What would you want to believe? What's the outcome that you want? What would you want to believe about yourself if you could believe anything about yourself? And you can. I mean, you're in charge of what you believe. Most people don't realize it, but you get to, beliefs are just opinions. They're not facts. You are in charge of your opinions. If you tell yourself I can, or you tell yourself I can't, if you say it's impossible, or you say I'm possible, I can accomplish anything. Henry Ford once said, if you think you can or you can't, you're right. It's up to you. Right. So question number 3 is, what would I rather believe? I want to believe that it will work out for me. Or I want to believe that I'm going to make friends. Instead of imagining that people are going to reject me, I'm going to imagine that people are going to love me. Or I'm going to find the people that love me. In sales, you might have to make 50 calls to get 10 people to say yes. But those 10 people that say yes make the difference. Not the 40 that said no, it's the 10 that said yes. Those are who you're going after. So instead of making cold calls, we make warm, fuzzy friendship calls. We change how we describe it to ourselves, and it changes how it feels. So step 1 is identify how you're feeling. Step 2 is, what would you have to believe in order to feel that way? What are you saying to yourself? What are you focusing on? Is it supporting you or encouraging you? And then step 3 is, if you could change it, what would you want to believe? And when you start asking that question, what would I rather believe? It causes your brain to pay attention to a whole new set of information, a whole new set of opportunities that are there. Yeah. The letters that spell nowhere and now here, they're the same letters, right? Nowhere and now here, same letters. It's just where you focus your attention. And then, of course, I always throw in a couple bonus steps. Step 4 is, if I had this new belief that things work out for me or I'm excited, what's a bold move that I would make? What's an action that I could take that would start moving me in a positive direction, and how would that serve me? How would that serve me really well? So if I was putting off exercise and I decided to do my exercise and I got it in, and I just got my first session in, how would that feel? Well, it'd feel great because I finally got started. Now let's keep it going, right? Or if I call someone and instead of rejecting me, it turns out to be a great conversation. Well, how would that serve me? Well, I feel like, wow, that wasn't so bad, or that was pretty good. I'm going to call somebody else and keep this going.
Best time to make a sale is after you made a sale.
That's really wise. That's exactly right. And then of course, step 5 is do it now. You have the momentum, you have the clarity, you have the new feelings, take action. And that puts it all into motion.
Yeah. And those little self mantras, do it now, or every day and every way I'm getting better and better. All those things really help as I have been training, and you have. People say, oh, it's just affirmations, but they work. But I find that if people develop their own, what really is in their heart, what they feel that's going to really help propel them, it really sticks with them, and they use it, and then they come back and say, wow, that really works. It really does. It really does. And it doesn't have to be repeating 10 million things to yourself all day. Just one sentence, one word, whatever it is, that just kind of reminds you to get in gear again. It's so easy to go in the negative direction. It's harder to be in the positive direction, but the rewards are better.
Well, that's what you said before. You got to have an environment that supports you, that gives you those ideas and those affirmations and those new aha moments and support. If you don't have an environment around that where people, are saying things like that to you. See, if you're listening to this podcast or watching this video, you are getting the tools and resources. The trick is to keep doing that, right? So here's
right.
It's what?
It's lifelong.
It's lifelong. Yeah, we are always a work in progress, but it improves your quality of life significantly. So we all have these pocket computers and pocket coaches. You can jump on YouTube and listen to an inspiration or these compilation videos where you have some of the greatest minds ever that are giving you all kinds of quotes and ideas and gems and nuggets, as you said, Sandy. And you've just listened to a little bit every day, and then it builds up your affirmations. It builds up your stockpile of inspiration and self-love and resiliency, because you're feeding your brain that. If you're not feeding your brain good stuff, you're feeding it whatever is left, which often is very critical and full of fear. And then what you do is you go to someone like you, Sandy, who then when they're working with you, you can specifically pull out those affirmations that are going to help them. That's the power of going to you as a coach, because you can help them shift the beliefs, change the old programming, save them years of suffering, and just create the changes with them quickly, and then help them form their new affirmations and mantras that personally work for them. And that's the power of going to someone who's trained like you, because then you're able to help them get exactly what they need right now, save them years, and help them alter the quality of their daily living in a very significant way.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Also, it's just so important to create those habits, because first we create habits and then they create us. So we have to constantly be working on what habits are we creating here, and those habits will make you successful or not successful down the road. So it's great. So I really, again, anybody who's watching this, One Belief Away, fantastic book by Tim Shurr. You won't regret it. I read it in one day. Of course, I sat there all day and I did nothing else because I was so determined to get my hands on it and read the tools. And thank you, Tim, for coming into my life when you did way back and helping me on the course that I've been on. I've enjoyed it. Learned so much from you, and just keeps going. So keep it all coming. It's all good stuff, and I really wish you success with this. I think it's probably taking off. It'll be a #1 bestseller, right?
That's right. That's right. It was on Amazon. So
Was it really?
Yeah. We hit #1 on Amazon for a little while. So they they get thousands of books a day. So that was a pretty cool experience. So yeah. So
It's
yeah.
wonderful.
Well, thank you, Sandy. It's been a treat and a privilege to know you and spend and stay friends for all these years. And I love what you're doing and how you're contributing and all the tools and resources you have for teens and college kids and their parents. And I mean, really valuable resources that people need. So I'm honored to be able to be here and support you with what you're doing. And you keep it going as well.
Thank you. And have a great spring. Let's hope this whole pandemic is gone and we can together help kids with the underlying pandemic of anxiety and get rid of that, right?
That's right.
All right. Thanks again, Tim. My pleasure. And we'll talk soon.